friends, this is Christopher Davis-Shannon, and today I'm going to show you how to play the 1926 tune by Walter Hirsch and Fred Rose, Deed I Do. This one has always interested me, particularly because it started out life as a pop tune, as many of these old songs did, but was also appropriated very quickly by both the jazz world and the Western swing world, where this tune really lives on still today, almost 100 years later. This is one of those tunes that was in fact a major hit right when it came out. We had seminal versions by, of course, Ruth Etting, Gene Austin, as well as in the uke world, the great Johnny Marvin. The thing is that each individual player approached this a little bit differently. So what we're going to speak about in this video is not just the form and the chords of the songs, but some alternative ways that we can play this. Of course, there will be at the end of the video just a basic play-along version with the chords so that you can follow along. But we're going to talk heavily about different substitutions, especially in the A section of the song, and different ways that we can harmonically treat this tune. Now this song is in A form, which means we have quite a bit of repetition. Each section is only 8 bars long, so while it's a 32-bar tune, we really only have 16 measures of music to learn here. And it's mostly chords that you likely know, but I want to talk a little bit more about the supporting harmony and how we can make some substitutions here to spice things up a little bit. Now the A section of this tune, which is our main theme, is something you're likely familiar with and a very common progression. It goes a little bit something like this. Do I need you, oh my, do I, honey, did I do? That's the vast majority of the tune. So what did I do there? So we're starting out on our standard C major chord, open, 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 3. For one measure, and then we're going to go to a C7th. Now I like to sneak around and grab the B flat to make this a C7th on the 3rd fret of my G string, making this 3, open, open, 3. And then we're going to go to an F major chord. You're going to slide that middle finger on down to the 2nd fret, put your first finger on the 1st fret of the E string. There's our F major chord, and now we're going to make this an F minor 6th chord. So we'll bar across the 1st fret, put our 2nd finger on the D on the 2nd fret of our C string, leave that ring finger right where it is. So this nice movement between F and F minor 6th. And then we're going to go back to C, and then G7th, open 2, 1, 2, and back to C. And that's the basic harmony of the tune, but that's not at all how it was always played. And even if we look at the early recordings, there are quite a number of different ways to play the last 4 bars of this A section. Generally, the C to the C7th, F, F minor 6th are what they are. But we have some substitutions we can do in the second half to change the harmony a little bit. But first, I want to look at the first half and some little substitutions we can do here just as far as ukulele voicings to make this sound a little bit better. If we look at the melody of the tune, it starts out actually on an A, do I, up to a C, which is indicative of a 6th chord. The A is the 6th in our C major chord, and then we're hopping up to the tonic. So I actually prefer to play a C6th, 2, 4, 3, 3 for this first measure, as it really supports the melody that's going on. And then we can go to our C7th directly after that. And you can hear just the slight change in the harmony here. Do I love you, oh my, do I? So that 6th chord just keeps things a little tighter and more concise. We have to move it from the A in the C6th chord to the B flat in the C7th chord, giving us just this half-step motion as opposed to jumping around a little bit more. So maybe try working in that C6th chord in this, although the C major triad works just as well. Now, if we look at the 5th bar of this, typically we would go C for a measure, then G7th, and back to C. Now, if we look at the original chord chart for this that was published in 1926, as well as listen to the Johnny Marvin version of this, this is in fact not what he does. The melody that we have here is an E and a G. Honey, did I do? And as we go into that, that works just fine. We're even E and a G. Those are both contained in a C major chord. But what Johnny Marvin did here, along with his band, was actually play an A7th chord. Honey, did I do? So we still have those same notes contained in there, the E and the G, but that C sharp gives us this sense of longing to move forward. And then the question is, where are we in fact moving forward to. In the sixth bar of this tune, we typically have a G7th, but in the earlier versions of the tune, and many modern versions as well, we have a dominant 2 chord, which would be a D7th chord. So our harmony could be this. Honey, did I do? And this just gives a stronger sense of motion to the harmony in the song, pushing us back to that 1 chord, back to the C. We have this 6, 2, 5, 1 progression. But to many people, this A7th chord in the 5th bar just sounds a little off, especially coming from an F minor 6th. It's a bit odd of a change that we have here. It can be very jarring to the ear. So what many composers do, if we listen to later versions, just I believe Diana Krall actually does this in hers, is we use a 1, 6, 2, 5, 1 turnaround in this little 2-bar section. So we'd have 2 beats of C, honey, and then down to our A7th chord, and then D7, D, G7, I do. So we have that, which still gives us a nod back to the old versions with that A7th chord in there, but sounds just a little bit more diatonically correct. It's more what our ear wants to sound in there. Now we do have one other option we can do here. Because the melody is an E and a G in this context, we can actually use a 3, 6, 2, 5 progression where we can go E minor, A7th, D7th, G7. Honey, did I do? So let me play these 3 different versions, actually 4 different versions, I'm sorry, of the A section for you so you can hear the difference and maybe make a decision about which you would rather play. So here is the first one subbing in that A7th chord in there. Do I love you? Oh my, do I, honey, did I do? Now here we go adding in the 1, 6, 2, 5, so we have C, A7th, D7th, G7. Do I love you? Oh my, do I, honey, did I do? And then finally, let's listen to that 3, 6, 2, 5, 1 progression. So now we have E minor 7th, A7th, D7th, G7th. Do I love you? Oh my, do I, honey, did I do? So I hope you can hear that all of these versions work, including just going C to G7th, which is perfectly fine. But you have these 3 other options here that you can use, and they can be interchanged as we play the tune. We repeat this A section 3 times in the entire song, and you can try different ways to address this harmony throughout. Now the 8-bar bridge section of this tune changes. We're going to go now to the 4 chord, an F to start for 2 measures. I'm glad that I'm the one that... And then we're going down to an E7th chord, just coming down 1/2 step here. And you may ask, why the heck would we go to an E7th chord? And we need to look ahead to figure this out. So as we come from this F to E7th, we're then going to A7th. We talked about this as our 6th chord earlier. And then D7th and G7th. So you can see the ending of this is actually very close to that turnaround we were speaking about in the A section of the tune. And this E7th is very necessary because it pushes us to the A7th. We talk about dominant chords, our 5 chord in a scale. In this, we're in the key of C. Our G7th would be our 5 chord, which is our strongest leading chord to get us back to the tonic. So much like this, if we were in the key of A, where remember we're going to an A7th chord in the 5th bar here, our E7th is the 5 chord, our dominant chord in the key of A. So it leads our ear strongly to that A7th chord, and we have this little circle progression, as we call it. We see a very similar thing in songs such as 5'2" or Please Don't Talk About Me While I Am Gone. Rhythm changes. I've got rhythm. This is really the bridge section. What we're doing is we're just delaying getting there by 1 moment by playing the F major chord for 2 bars beforehand. So our bridge section is going to be a little bit something like this. It'll be F for 2 measures, then to E7, then we go A7, and then D7, G7, And we can add a sharp 5 on the last beat here by sneaking our pinky around on that G7th to play the D sharp on the 3rd fret of our C string. So let's do this now with the vocals in here so you can hear where the melody fits along with the harmony in the bridge. So we're starting out on F major chords. It's going to sound like this. I'm glad that I'm the one that found you. That's why I'm always hanging round you. And that gets us right back to our little A section. We're going to repeat that one last time. Now that we have the main parts of the tune, let's talk about adding an intro to this. And since this A section really serves as the main theme of the song, I thought it would be great just to do a little chord melody of the A section. So as we talked about in the beginning of this, we're really starting out on a C6th chord. So to capture this A up top in the melody, we can really just strum all of our strings open and then put down a C major chord. And we're going back to our C6th, and we're going to pluck the open G string on beat 3 of the 2nd measure. So here's our first 2 measures of the little chord melody. And as I pluck that G, I'm going to put down my first finger on the B flat on my A string, giving us a C7th chord here, leading us to the F. But the weird thing here is our melody is actually in the middle of the chord now as we voice it on uke. So for our F major chord, what I'm going to do is partially voice an F6th chord. So you're going to put your fingers down 2, 2, open, and then you're going to mute the A string with your pinky. I use my pinky, you can use your first finger if you want. Our melody is E, open E, to the D that's on the 2nd fret of our C string. And then in the 2nd measure, we just make this an F minor 6th. We bring this note to the A, the 2nd fret of our G string, on down to the 1st fret for an A flat, making this an F minor 6th. And we're just going to pluck that D on beat 3 again. So here are our F major to F minor 6th bars of the chord melody. An F minor 6th. And now we have a decision to make. We were talking about all these different harmonic ways that we can voice these next couple bars. I'm going to go just with the C major here, but you can play this melody over top of any of the chords we were talking about earlier in this video. So we're just going to do a partial strum up to an open E, all open strings, and then hit the G string. And then I like to do a Hawaiian D7th here because our melody note is actually our low C string. And then we're going to go up to a G7th, pluck our C string again, giving us a D, and then C. So let's play this melody very slowly for you so you can hear how this all goes. Resolve to a C major chord. So let's give this whole tune a try together. Do I want you? Oh my, do I, honey? Did I do? Do I need you? Oh my, do I, my honey? Did I do? I'm glad that I'm the one who found you. That's why I'm always hanging round you. Do I love you? Oh my, do I, my honey? Did I, honey? Did I, honey?